Hey guys, Moose here. I just want to do a quick update video here. Some things have happened recently. You may already know about them, you may not, but it's going to impact this channel, so I want to talk about it a little bit and kind of make you guys aware of it, because some of this stuff is stuff that I've talked about in other videos, but I haven't really specifically addressed it, and this is a new change that I, of course, haven't talked about because it just happened today. So just getting straight into it, you may have seen tweets about it. I think the only person I follow who's tweeted about it so far was Total Biscuit, and I don't really agree with what he said, but that's fine. I don't need to agree with him. I think he has a perspective that is valid from where he sits, but if you're not as big as him, then it feels and looks a lot different. The most negative thing he said about it was that it was tone deaf, which I definitely agree with, but otherwise he seemed to come down on it being kind of a positive change. And he may be right. I may be wrong. I'm not asserting that I'm correct about this. I'm merely speaking to how it affects me. I don't think I have the information or knowledge or expertise to speak about how this affects YouTube as a whole and whether or not it's a good thing. I'm going to leave that to people smarter than me. I'm just looking at it as me. I'm not going to speak for anyone else. I'm not going to put my opinion on anyone else. It's just my perspective based on my channel. That's it. So let's get right into it. Basically, YouTube is taking away demonetization for any channel that has less than 4,000 hours of views in the last 12 months. I kind of get that. That one I'm not as bothered by. The one that I am really bothered by, and it is the one that affects me and knocks me out of the monetization group, is that you have to have 1,000 subs. And we're only 150 off, and I've actually been pretty happy recently. I've been lucky enough to get a pretty steady stream of subs over the last month or so, so I don't know if that's me doing something better or what, but it's been better lately. And I want to be clear about something. I'm not complaining about me only having 850 subs, or 850 whatever. That's not... YouTube's not affecting my discovery. YouTube is not preventing people from finding me. YouTube is not preventing people from subscribing to me. If I don't have the number of subs that I want, that's on me. It's a reflection of my content, the quality of my content, and how good I am at creating this entertainment. So I'm not complaining about that. I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. And honestly, I might not have any issue with this change either, if not within the context of everything else that's happened lately, which we're going to get into in a minute. Actually, I think that is the next thing we're going to get into, so let's just jump straight into that. So looking back at YouTube over the last 6 months, I'm going to start with the first line of YouTube's announcement about this change. The first line, or the first part of the first sentence, is 2017 marked a tough year for many of you. I want you to keep that in mind, because we're going to go back and I'm going to talk about the things that made it tough, and then we're going to revisit that statement. The most recent thing that happened, if you're thinking of YouTube controversies and things that affect this kind of a change, was Logan Paul showing a dead body. Someone who had committed suicide in Japan. You can go way deep on that and look at YouTube's reaction, how they handled it, how that whole thing went down, and it does not paint a good picture about how YouTube handles their content. That big strike against YouTube, major issue. I don't know if that video was monetized or not, but it doesn't really matter when YouTube has it on the front page trending. And YouTube didn't remove it. The creator removed it. So how much credibility as a business can you have telling people that they violated your community guidelines when you had a video of someone who had committed suicide trending? Can you have any credibility whatsoever? My view is no. I really don't think you can, because that was one of your big stars, one of the people that you put up front and center, and that's what they did, that's what they put out, and you kept it there for an extended period of time. All the credibility is out the window at that point. And then you go further and you say, okay, well, PewDiePie dropping the N-word, and it's a little bit old hat at this point, but You can go back and look at that whole controversy if you'd like. Plenty of issues going on with that as well. But it's the poster child for YouTube, the big guy, the one YouTuber, the YouTuber, dropping the N-word live. Pretty significant issue. And then the biggest one, in my mind, and the furthest back, I believe, if I'm getting the chronology correct, was all this demonetization stuff. And if you don't know what that is, basically, YouTube turned on like a bot, some kind of AI that looks at videos and says this should be monetized, this shouldn't be monetized. So I've been hit by plenty of demonetization, which basically means they take away ads for that video so you can't make money off of it. Other people have been too, lots of other people. One example of that is a guy that I follow, Sinvicta. He's a reasonably big YouTuber. I mean, he's not big, but I'd say he's like medium-sized YouTuber. And to the best of my knowledge, he's had virtually every video he's put up over the last 4 or so months demonetized. And I don't think a single one of them has been upheld. I think every single one that he said, hey, review this, it shouldn't have been demonetized, they come back and say, oh yeah, you're right, it shouldn't have been demonetized. Let's reinstate monetization. That's fine, except for the fact that usually it stays demonetized for pretty much the entire first day that it went up, at least. At minimum, it stays demonetized for that long. Problem with that is that's when most of the views come in. And I'm going to touch on that again in a little bit. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So Sinvicta has lost, as I understand it, a substantial amount of his YouTube income, which probably wasn't that big in the first place. So it's particularly painful to get hit by something like that. And I'm not criticizing his size by saying it probably wasn't that much. I'm saying YouTube as a job doesn't pay that well unless you're really big. It just doesn't. And we can all understand and agree on that. That's reality. So then my side of it. I've been hit by, I don't know. If I had to estimate, I'd say like 50 to 100 videos have been demonetized over the past 4 months. It's not every single one, but realistically that represents, I think, between like 1 to 2 months worth of content. And just think about that. Whatever amount I made is now 1/6 less than what it would have been, roughly. And I'm not getting hit that hard. But think about that. That's 1/6. That's a pretty big number. That's not a small amount. 1/6 of my day one revenue gone. And I'm nobody. Think about how that hits someone who's big like Sinvicta. And it's not 1/6 for him. It's a hell of a lot more than that. I would probably say it's close to 80 or 90% of his day one revenue. Think about that. Maybe it's not that. Thinking about it, that percentage might be high. I don't know. I would love to have a conversation with him about that and see, like, realistically how long they stay demonetized and then how many of them are getting demonetized. The impression that he gives off is it's 100%, but it might be closer to 50. I don't know. I don't track his stuff that closely. Point is, it's a lot of stuff. And when there's not that much money to go around in the first place, taking a whole bunch of it away. And by the way, I have not had a single demonetization upheld. Every single one I appeal, and every single one they come back and say, oh yeah, that was a mistake. Let's reinstate monetization. So I keep hearing like, oh, the bot's getting better. YouTube puts on, oh, the bot's better. It's like 70% more accurate. Bullshit. Not a single thing has changed. I'm still getting hit with it pointlessly. Sinvicta's still getting hit with it pointlessly. Where's the change? Show me the change, because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing any change whatsoever. So keep in mind, this is the last 6 months. Everything that I've said to this point is the last 6 months. Now they're saying we're going to take away demonetization for smaller channels. Like I said in the beginning, if it was just this and this was the only thing, maybe I say, yeah, you know what? I kind of get it. I don't really like that Twitch basically does the same thing where you have to get a certain number of views, followers to be a partner. I don't really like that, but I get it. I understand you want to set a baseline, and then if you're past that, that's fine. I don't really agree in that I don't think that if your goal in doing this is to prevent or impede bad actors, I don't think that you can directly tie that to size. I don't think it's that simple. I think all this does is it gives them a smaller pool to worry about. That's it. And to me, that makes this a very lazy change. This is not making them better at identifying the problems. It just lowers the pool. It shrinks the pool of bad actors they have to look for. And it rings quite hollow when two of the major events over the last 6 months, when they say the first line of their announcement is 2017 marked a tough year for many of you, it rings hollow when two of the biggest things that were rough about 2017 that led to changes were their biggest YouTubers, basically, some of their biggest, coming out and fucking up in an incredibly brutal way, in a way that makes life worse for everyone else. So I really don't appreciate them coming and saying, hey, we're taking away your monetization to solve a problem, when that doesn't seem to address the problem at all. It makes it easier for them to address the problem, but it does nothing to actually address the problem. So that, obviously I'm pissed off about that. Then the other thing, and this other comment they had, and this is where I get really frustrated, because this is what people do in meetings to lie, basically. This is how lies in businesses are born. Though these changes will affect a significant number of channels, 99% of those affected were making less than 100 per year, not me, with 90% earning less than 250 in the last month, also not me. I made about double that. So here's the problem with that statement. You can look at that statement, you can say, okay, that's reasonable. Most people weren't making any money anyway. No problem. 99%, yeah, no problem. 99% of what? All channels on YouTube? Because that's a meaningless number. The only way that number means a damn thing is if that's channels that have posted things recently and have continued and are continuously posting things. Because if they're going to throw in some idiot who uploaded a video in 2012 and they're going to say, oh, yeah, that's one of the channels. They made less than $250 this month. They made less than $100 last year. That number means fuck all. And they don't say anything about where that number's coming from. Furthermore, can you even say the 100? Because people's lost tons of revenue because you guys were demonetizing shit. So is that 99% making less than 100 even true if you factor in what people have lost as a result of demonetization? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure it would. I think it probably would with the way that they're doing the numbers, because it makes a little difference when you're going to factor in every single existent channel that's uploaded a video ever. I don't know. It's difficult to say. I'm not the one looking at the raw data. If I was, I could tell you, because I basically do this for a living. Not exactly, but I do enough of this for a living that I could easily identify whether or not this is complete bullshit. And it reads like complete bullshit, but I don't know. I can't back that up with data. But they're not backing this statement up with data. So that's the part that really frustrates me, because I go into meetings where I see people making statements like this, and it's always a fucking lie. And they're always using it to prop up some assertion that they're making that helps them in some way and fucks over some other group. Every time. And I deal with that on a daily basis, so I don't like seeing that. It's a meaningless number. And I don't know that they're going to get called out for that, and it's frustrating. But anyway. So that's the big one. The two big ones for me are how this looks with demonetization going on in the background, and then the numbers being nebulous and probably full of shit. That's the one that really frustrates me. But anyway, I'm probably going to wind up talking about this a little bit in other videos. I'm going to save what's left, save my frustration, even though I've kind of gone through all of it. I just needed to talk about this to get this off my chest because it's frustrating. One thing that Total Biscuit did tweet about that is an interesting thought, and this sort of highlights maybe not insecurities, but maybe things that I need to get over. He brought up Patreon and said, channels of this size would be better served relying on Patreon than ad revenue anyway. He may have a point. He may be completely correct. I have mixed feelings about that, to be honest with you. I kind of like the idea of taking YouTube out of it. I kind of like the idea of maybe demonetizing everything myself and just relying on Patreon, so YouTube just pays for the bandwidth. And it can exist as like a middle finger to them, basically, without monetizing anything. But I don't know. That's something I have to think about. And what I meant about maybe, not insecurities isn't the right word, but I don't know if I'm happy enough with my entertainment product to ask people to pay for it directly. Ads are nice and easy because it doesn't actually cost you anything to watch it. I mean, technically you pay for the bandwidth, but you're not really paying anything to watch it. And if you want to use ad block or whatever, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, you might see Patreon later. I don't know. I got to look into it and figure it out. But just wanted to get this off my chest. So thanks for listening. Hope it's at least an interesting topic to think about or maybe talk about. And I'll see you in one of the next videos. Take care.